Hello, my friends. It's Sharon from Mad Paper Crush. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be making this adorable little flip journal, is what I'm thinking to call it. I'm going to show you a couple of options that you can do with it, but it's full of pockets and flips and tuck spots and all sorts of fun things. So this is going to be a long one. Settle in. I have a couple of parts that are going to be coming with this series, but I really love the way that it turned out. So I started with some packaging, so some old boxes for, different things just around the house that I used as a base for most of this. I used some envelopes and I used some time cards, and I also used Maureen Astrid's beautiful artsy grunge paper. So I will show you more of that when we get to the supplies, but let's take a little flip through of this so you can see what we'll be making. So it is about, with the tabs on here, it's about 5 inches wide and about 8 inches tall. So it's kind of a standard-ish size journal that we've put together here. So I have just some sari ribbon holding it together. And I've added all sorts of decorations and embellishments to this. So I have, there's these copper paper clips that are holding these envelopes in place. And when you take them off, you can see the envelope has a little note card in there that you can write on. And then this, here I'm gonna put this back so it doesn't flop around on me. And then the bottom envelope is a little bit bigger, but it's the same kind of thing. So we've put it down using the flap itself, and then a little note card in there, perfect for some more journaling. And then this first page is kind of a short page. So when you open it up, there is a little tuck spot here for some ephemera with some labels ready to either stamp on or, do some writing on or that kind of thing. And then this next page here is actually a little window page. So there is a nice big tag in here with some fussy cut botanicals on there. And you can see Maureen's paper peeping through here, and it's just beautiful. And then when you open this up, there is, I didn't put anything in this one, but there's a little tuck spot right here for you to put like a postcard or, a note or something like that. So that goes right there. And then this piece opens up just like this. And there's a little double pocket here for some more tags or cards that I have here. And then at the top here is a nice big card as well, that I've put on a time card. And some beautiful purple sari ribbon that I think matches this paper just beautifully. And then there's a pocket on this side. And then this little circle here just turns to the side, and there is a pocket tag right here that goes right in there. But then you can open this up, and then in here is a little Ex Libris tag here that goes in this little pocket right there. So lots of flippy things so far, and we're not even to the second page. And then this whole thing flips over, and you have some places to journal here, and I've added some labels. And then we're on to the next page, and there are 2 pockets here, and I just have some cards in here to do some journaling on in each one of these. So those both come out like that. And then here, I'm going to flip this over first so we can look at this back page here. I have this long flip here that there's a pocket for some ephemera right on the front here. If I can get that back in straight with a label. And then when you flip that up, there is another, I have something in here. There's a little pocket here with another note card right in there as well. And then on the back page itself, there are these 2 little flip pockets. I love those. And you can take out the cards that are in each one of those. And then when you flip this over, there's a nice big place to journal right there. And then over here, there is a little pocket up at the top here, and then another pocket down at the bottom here. This one's pretty hidden. I kind of like that. And if you had something long enough, this pocket actually does go all the way through like a big giant belly band. But you could just, you know, if you wanted to, you could just tuck something in the top here and tuck something in the bottom here. And it's nice and this is glued down pretty close, so it's pretty secure when you put something in there. Okay, and then this last piece, when you open this up, we have a little accordion pocket in here where I've just stashed some of the extra papers and things from Maureen's kit that I haven't used yet, but there's some open pockets and things here in the journal itself that I could use them for. So that is the little accordion pocket there. Let me see if I can tie this back up. And then I think, you know, this journal, well, let me show you the back real quick. This journal, it by itself, I think is, you know, is very cute. There's no pages in here, but if you wanted to use this for like a list journal or maybe just inspirational quotes, there's plenty of places to put all that stuff in here. And then this is the back where I've just lined it with some paper and some washi tape stickers there. So that is the whole journal. And I thought, like I said, you could just use this by itself as is, or now this is my idea book. You wouldn't have to do it exactly like this, but I thought you could use this as a signature just as easily as you could use it, you know, as a standalone journal. So this has a lot of space right in here, and I'm just going to put it in here. You can, if you have an elastic journal, you could put it in like this, so you can see, you know, it would just get held right in there, just like a normal journal, and you would have other pages here that you could flip through. But you could also sew this in. So you could, you know, add some stitching here and actually sew it into a journal if you wanted to. So that's just kind of an option. I just wanted to kind of show you what it would look like inside of a journal as like just another signature in a journal. I think that would be perfect. And then the other thing I was thinking, let me just pull these out here. The other thing that I was thinking would be fun to do would be to add this to the back of a journal, you know, as like a standalone piece in the back, so that it would have all kinds of flips, you know, right here in the back of the journal, and then the journal would just come together like this, and you would have the tabs sticking out of the top there. So lots of different options for this little thing. Like I said, I even think that it works just by itself with some of this beautiful purple sari around it. So let's go ahead and get started and make one of these things. I hope that you'll join me. Okay, supplies. I'm going to be using some of my tools. I'm probably going to be using my tab punch board, but you could certainly just trace a tab that you have. You could, you know, just draw your own. This is definitely something you don't need. I'm just going to be using it because it's fast and easy for me to use. Then also, of course, my cutter. I'm going to be doing lots of cutting for cardboard and for paper and all that good stuff. So definitely want to have a cutter nearby. And then some glues. I'm not sure exactly what glue I'm going to be using. I may be using my Beacon 3-in-1 in some spots. I might be using my Oohoo Magic Glue in some other spots. So we'll just see, you know, what goes where kind of thing. I'm going to use a used envelope. So this isn't even new. So, but it has a window, and I think it would be fun to maybe try to put a die cut on here. So I'm going to be using my die cut machine, which I didn't pull over here. But once again, you don't need to use the die cuts. You could just cut your own, you know, cut your own window out. You don't have to use a die cut at all. And then some old book pages. I just pulled out one of the inserts. I've pulled the cover off of one of the old books I think I'm going to use. And I'm going to be using some gum tape. So this, I love this stuff. It is dry right now, but you can, I don't know if you can see on the camera, it is shiny on one side and matte on another side. And when you wet the shiny side, it becomes glue. So it's easy to stick down. So I think this will be a great adhesive to put some of our cardboard things together. So we're going to use that. And then also cardboard. So this is just a cardboard box that I had. So these are my Ziploc bags there that I pulled the box out of. You're going to need enough cardboard to make, excuse me, 2 8x5 pieces and one 8x3.5 piece. So that's what I'm going to be cutting out of this big piece, this big box piece here. And then of course we're going to need our distress inks and probably some collage bits we'll be putting in there as well. So let's talk about paper, because you're also going to need some paper. Okay, I'm going to be covering my cardboard with some digital prints that I got from Maureen Astrid, and I will link her channel and the link to this kit down below. This is her Art Grunge kit, and I think it's so much fun the way that she put it together. So I'm going to be using this to cover my cardboard. Now you can, just use your book pages if you want to, obviously you don't have to have this kit, but you'll see this kit is beautiful. And I'll just flip through these pages real quick while I have it here, because they're so pretty. So I haven't decided, which ones are going to go where yet, but I think they're going to look wonderful on here. So I love the flowers on here, but also it looks like it's got a coat of gesso on there. It's really fun. Oops. And this one you can just barely see some houses in the background. I like that. This one's very bright. So you can see that these will be real fun to work with. Whoa, throughout our project here. And this one has more flowers, these purple little flowers. I think they look so pretty. And then this one here. So that's not the full kit. I just printed out some ones that I thought I might use in this project. But please head over to Maureen's shop or her channel and subscribe to her channel and take a look at this kit as well. Okay, I'm going to start with my cutter. I'm going to cut out my base pieces first, and I'm going to use my cardboard blade. So I have a separate blade that I use for cardboard because it makes it go dull really fast. And this is actually an old paper blade. So once I felt it was too dull for paper, I wrote cardboard on it, and now I just use it for cardboard. So, and it does pretty well on cardboard. So because I don't think this is going to fit in here, I think I'm just going to cut down the edges a little bit, and maybe even cut off this one flap here to make it easier. And then once I do that, I'm going to be cutting out an 8x3 inch piece and two 8x5 inch pieces. Okay, I have my three base pieces here and all ready to go. And before I start putting them together or doing anything else with them, I want to punch my tabs and put any corner rounds on and that kind of thing. So I'm going to grab my tab board, and I'm also, I'm going to start with that. I'm just going to start with my tab board. But before I cut my tabs, I think what I want to do is I want to add my tab paper to the cardboard so that when I cut them out, the paper will already be on for me. So I've just cut a 2-inch strip of one of the papers that I've decided to use, and I'm going to cut this in half. So it's an 8.5 piece of paper, and I'm going to cut it down to 4 1/4. And then all I'm going to do here is I'm going to add it to one of the 8x5 pieces at the top, and then also to the other piece at the bottom. So I'm just going to grab my 3-in-1 glue. And when I glue this on, I am going to add my glue and then spread it around with my finger a little bit, just to be sure that it is fully covered and that there's no bumps and things, so that when I put it in my tab machine, you know, it's not going to be cutting through a big thick layer of glue. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'm going to line it up with the edges as best I can here. And then we'll do the same thing with the other one. Okay, to make the tabs, I am just going to put my tab set piece in here. And then actually before I do this, I'm going to grab my pencil again, which I keep losing. And I'm just going to mark on the opposite side where the edge of my paper is, because I'll have to turn this over. Okay, so I'm going to first cut the top end, and this takes a little bit of muscle because you're going through cardboard there. And then I'm going to take my tab piece out, and I'm going to cut my other side. And I have my little mark here, so I know how far I can go without cutting off the end of the paper. So I'm not going to measure this. I think that I think that it's hard to do. Okay. That was harder than I thought it was going to be. But so you can see I didn't cut off the end of the paper, and that's what I was hoping to avoid there. And now I'm going to cut the rest of this off with this side. So I'm going to do it this way because I think it'll make it a little easier for me. But I could probably also use my paper cutter to do this as well, to maybe get a smoother cut, because sometimes this doesn't go all the way through, as you can see here. So I think maybe I will finish cutting that with my paper cutter, but I'm going to do this other one first. Now, because this one's on the bottom, I'm going to start with the opposite side so I don't have to make a mark on this one. I'm just going to punch my first corner here, and then I'm going to decide where to make my second punch here. I think I'm going to try to get this as big as I can. Hopefully we won't go over the edge. And I kind of had to stand up to get some leverage there. And that worked just the way I wanted it to. I'm going to cut the rest with my cutter, because like I said, that's I don't think that the blade on that tab board is as deep as this one. Okay, so now I have that piece ready, and I'm just going to try to finish this one off, since it didn't seem to want to cut all the way through for me. No, I'm not so sure it's going to either. Maybe I'll do it that way. There we go. Okay. So now I have my two tabs ready to go, and I like the way that looks. And now I'm going to just do some corner rounding so that everything kind of matches. So I'm just going to use my tab board again for that. This should be a little bit easier. So I have my plastic piece put in for the corner rounder, and I'm just going to round the opposite corner from the tab there. Same one on this one, so that we all have, every piece has a matching edge. And then for my 8x3 inch piece, I'm just going to round the two corners here. So, and you'll see how this works. And I put this together. Okay, let me grab my schniblets. Okay, so when we put together our little book here, you can see my first page has a corner, both corners rounded. And then my, whoops, I'm going to put the top tab first. So my top tab page has a corner round down here. And then when you flip it again, this one has a corner round up there. So all of the outside edges then have rounded corners. Okay. So now we're going to start putting this thing together. Okay, so I grabbed my gum tape and I am going to cut most of the pieces that I think I need, maybe not all of them, but I'm going to cut some pieces so that I can move this out of the way, because if my water spills and it gets on this, it's going to activate all the glue inside here and ruin this entire roll of tape. So I want to make sure that's out of the way before I start using my water with my gum tape. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure I have my booklet the way I want it to go. So I have my, top flap, my inside flap, and my back flap, and this is the order that I want them in. So I cut pieces of gum tape about, oops, that's two of them, about 8 inches tall so that it would match, the size of my book, and then a couple little, a little bit smaller. So I'm not sure exactly, what we're going to need. Some of them might go over the top, but I just cut a couple of pieces. We can always fill in later. Now, the ones I'm going to do first, actually, I'm going to grab that longer piece. Let's see which one that was. I can't keep them straight. Okay, this one looks like it's a little bit longer than 8 inches. I'm going to use this one first. Let me move these out of the way, so I don't want them to get activated before I'm ready either. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tabbed pieces together first. So I'm going to decide, I'm going to open it just like I would open a book and decide, how far apart I want them. So for the back 2 pieces, I am going to try to leave about a 1/2 inch gap, so that if I wanted to maybe sew in a signature later, I could do that. Or if we add a lot of flips and folds on one of these, that's going to take up some space, and I want it to be able to fold nicely. So what I'm going to do, let me move my water carefully over here. Since I'm a lefty, I'm just going to take an old paintbrush and put some water on it. I'm not going to, I don't want to put too much water on it, because it'll activate pretty fast. And you don't need that much water. And if you have some on it, it should, spread down to the other places. So once you have the water on, it should be nice and sticky. And then what I'm going to do is just very carefully try and line this up about in the middle, leaving my gap. And I'm going to gently stick it down so that I can flip it over and just make sure my gap is even. I think it's pretty good. And then any edges that you have, you can put over the top there. And now, since I have some wet glue right here, I'm going to grab a piece that hopefully, that's a really long piece. I can maybe use that one for the next one. That's a short piece. Maybe didn't cut these big enough. Okay, this one will work. Okay, so now I'm going to cover this other side because I want to be sure that wet glue in the gap is covered. And you just want to be careful with your water, obviously, since I have some printed papers on here. I want to be sure that I'm not, getting them all wet. Now this one, I'm just going to try to line up with the top, and then I'm going to cut off this bottom because I don't want it to, I don't think I want this piece to wrap around. Okay, so put that over here, and then we'll just make sure it's all rubbed down. You could probably use, a bone folder or a credit card or something to make sure this is all the way down. Okay, so, and you see what I did? I put the, I ended up putting the top one in the back and the bottom one in the front, which is okay. It's just not exactly how, oh no, we can do it like that. Look at that. Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, we can do it just like that. And there is a big gap here, and I'm just gonna make those folds, try and make them so you can see my 1/2 inch gap there, but that'll give us plenty of room to add in our folds and pockets and tucks and all that good stuff, okay? So that is how I wanted it to go. That works out just nicely. And now we're going to put on this side as well. Okay, to put the front piece on, we just have to make a note of one thing. So if we do it just like we did this one, so if I put a piece of tape here and wrap it around the other side, I'm actually going to wrap this part closed. So we have to be careful when we put this one on. So I'm not going to have anything wrap. I'm going to try to get the tape to go more just to the top and the bottom so that we're not wrapping it around. And actually, the other thing that I might do here, well, because I'm going to have a gap, I think I am going to do both sides. But this one is going to be a little bit smaller gap. So instead of a 1/2 inch, I think I'm going to do just about a 1/4 inch gap. Now, the other thing you want to make sure is because we made such a large gap on this one, we want to be sure we're attaching our front piece to the left side of that seam that we made, or the spine that we made. So be sure that when you fold this down, you're not folding it down with your seam showing, because then our seam, won't be in the right, or our spine won't be in the right place. So I have that down. So my spine is to the back there, and I'm just going to put this down, and I'm going to give myself just about a 1/4 inch gap. And this is a long piece, so I am going to cut it down because, like I said, I don't want it to wrap around. And hopefully it'll stop curling up on me. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to start at the top and try not to go over. And then when I get down to the bottom, I'm just going to turn this to the side and cut this off. And make sure you use your glue scissors for that. Okay, now this side, because there is a little bit of glue in there, I was thinking about doing it, but I am going to probably go over the spine, and I think I want to wait. So instead of gluing this side, I am just going to let this side dry here. And actually, what I can do maybe is, instead of putting a full piece down, I'm going to cut one of these into 2. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we'll be covering it up. But I think what I'm going to do on this is, just to cover up that glue, I'm going to try to put one here and then another little piece there just to fill that in. But don't go over the spine. And don't go around the top. Or you'll do like the first time I did this and completely glue your book shut. Okay. Good. Now all of our glue is covered up, and this is going to be nice and secure. I'm just going to rinse my brush out because I don't want it to be gluey. All right, let me get this cleaned up and then we'll be right back. Okay, our glue is all dry, and I just wanted to mention that as the glue dried, the gaps have gotten a little stiffer, which is nice because now you can really see, our delineation here where we have some space to add in some things on either one of these sides. So now I'm just going to put this aside for a little while, and we're going to work on some other things. So I'm going to take this envelope that I pulled out, this used envelope, and we're going to prepare it to go in as a flap. And so what I did was I picked a piece of paper that I liked for this, because we're going to cut this off a little bit. Now I did actually, I think this was part of the one that I used for the tabs here. So this leftover piece is about 6.5 inches by 9 inches. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to use this to make my envelope here. Now I wanted it to be long enough to wrap around so that we can cover this entire envelope. So this should be just about perfect, maybe a little bit over the edge. And when I cover it, I'm going to leave the top opening that's already open because we're going to line the inside as well. So what I'm going to do, the other thing is I want to add a die cut so that we have our window right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this die cut, and I'm just going to kind of try to mark where this needs to go so that I can put it in the die cut. Now I want to be sure that it's, so I have to line it up and down. So that's about right where I want it to be in terms of up and down. And now I got to make sure it's pretty much centered here. So I think this is about right. So now I'm going to take a little piece of washi tape. I'm going to try and make sure that that's, whoops, straight up and down here. And I always like just take a little piece, and actually I'm going to try and put it more towards the inside there so that if it tears the paper, that'll be the piece I'm removing anyway. Okay, so this is just holding my die cut down, and now I'm going to pick it up and make sure, I'm going to try and hold it up to my light here and make sure that I'm within the window, which it looks like I am. Hopefully that is true. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can fit this in this way. I don't know if this is going to work, but we will give it a try. It's a little bit bigger. I don't know if it's going to, yeah, it's going to crunch my paper up a little bit. All right, so I may have to cut this in two. Actually, I think I can fold this back on itself, because then it'll only cut the one side. So let me do this. I'm going to mark where I'm going to fold this around. And then we'll fold it back on itself there. So I am not a very experienced die cutter. This could be totally the wrong thing to do, but I really don't want to cut this paper down if I don't have to yet. So I think that's going to be our line. Okay, so I have my cutting side down. I'm going to put it on my plate there. And let's run this through and see how it works. Hopefully I won't be cutting another piece of paper. I'll just, I think it cut the other side. Oh no, it didn't. Woo! Close though. Okay. Move this out of the way. And then this should fit right over my window. Yes. And before I attach it, I am going to cut this envelope down. So I'm just going to mark it with my pencil. And we'll cut this down to size. Okay, so now we have that open side that I was talking about, and this should fit right here on top. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this. Okay, I think. So I'm going to, let's see, what do I want to use here? I think I might use my glitter glue for this. Might be a little easier. So I'm going to put it on this side. Make sure I get the edges pretty well. Okay. And then if we have to move that fold a little bit, which I'm thinking we might, but maybe once I get this glued down, it will be better lined up. So yeah, so the fold is just a little bit off, so I'm just gonna press it around and refold that a little bit. Okay, and then we can also cut off a little bit of this if we need to as well. This side looks a little bit bigger than the other side. So let me get this glued down first. Now I'm just going to trim this. Actually, I think what I'm going to do to make it easier, I'm just going to cut this whole thing off just like maybe 1/8 of an inch to give us a nice straight edge there. Okay. So we still have an opening here. And I do think I am going to add a little notch at the top. And I'm seeing that I didn't quite go all the way to the top there, so I'm going to cut a little bit of that off as well before I put my notch in. Okay. So let's see. This one doesn't always work well for me, this cutter, so I'm hoping that maybe it will, and it did. Yay! So we have a little notch there. Okay, so now we're going to take another piece of paper, and you could use book page for this, or you could use some more of the patterned paper. Let's see, what do I want to use here? Okay, I picked a piece of paper that I want to go in this, and then I just need to decide, you know, where I want it to go so I know how to cut it down. I was thinking I would try to get this flower in the window, but I want to leave about 1 inch on the side over the edge, because this is what's going to attach it inside the book. So right now, you know, we don't have anything to attach it inside the book, but when I line the back of this, I'm going to leave an extra bit about 1 inch over, and that will give us some room to do that. To attach it. So I'm just going to pick, like, I think maybe I can get these flowers in there. That might look nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark one edge just so I kind of know where to cut it from. And then we'll cut that down and see if we can get that to work. And then hopefully I'll have enough like leftover on here to cover something if I would want to do that. So I'm going to put that one out of the way for just a minute. And then we are going to need this again. So we'll put this in here and line it up along the back side and along the top. And yep, those two little flowers are peeking through. That looks nice. And so I'm just going to mark where to cut at the top, and I'm just going to leave this side on since it's a little bit, I mean, that's probably 1.5 inches or so, but that's okay. At least I have something to be able to attach it when we go to put that in. So I'm going to find my mark and cut that down. And then let's see if I cut it right. Okay, yes. Nice. Now what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to add glue to the paper and then put it in, and so I don't over glue like I did when I was wrapping this around, I'm just going to mark on the paper so I know where to put my glue. So this one, because it might be all right for me to get that in there quickly, I think I will use my art glitter glue again. Okay, so now make sure I have it the right way. And look at that. Perfect. Okay. I love the way that looks. Now what I think I'm going to do, because we still have this opening here, I could either just glue that right down there, or what I might do is I might add a little stitching just around the three sides here. I think that might be fun. So I think that's what I'm going to do, so that I'm adding a little additional texture to these pretty papers. Okay, so now we have our pocket ready to go. So we have our flap here that's going to help us attach it inside of our book. And we have this little pocket that looks really cute with, you'll be able to put something in there to have a little window. I think that looks great. Okay, so let's do the next piece. Okay, I'm going to work on the first flap here first. And what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be covering most of this flap with other things, I'm going to start by just sort of base covering these. Now, I think I'm going to take one of those pieces of glue tape that we had, and maybe I'll have to cut a bigger one here. But I think I'm going to cover this top edge. And I'll show you what I mean here. Because I want this cardboard that's sticking out, I don't want that color to be showing. Although in this case, a lot of the purples do match with what are on the digital papers, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to grab my watercolor thing here. And you can dip this whole tape into water, you know, if you had like a tray or something. But because I'm trying not to put too much water all over the rest of my booklet, I'm trying to keep it out of there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this down this way. And it is bigger than my piece, which I want, because once I glue this over, I can cut it off and round those corners again, and then the edges of this will be nicely covered. I'm not going to do the top and the bottom. I think I'll be able to get close enough with the papers that I'm going to use initially here, but I'm never, you know, sure about the edge, the outside edge. I want to be sure that I'm covering that up for sure. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I'm just going to cut this off on both sides. And then we will re-round the corners, but I think I'm going to have to wait because I don't want to re-round it while the glue is still wet here. But that's okay, because we can start covering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my book pages and cover both sides. So just, you know, like you would any other thing here. I'm going to just tear the edge of this off. And then all I'm going to do, boy, that didn't tear off very straight, but that's okay, is I'm just going to go pretty close to the spine. And actually these papers are exactly the right height. They're 8 inches tall. So I'm just going to glue them down like this, and then on the other side as well. And then we'll trim them down too. So let me start with, I'll use my glitter glue again since it's right here. I could probably use my glue stick for this. But I'm not going to because I just want to be sure this stays. So once again, I'm just kind of marking how far I need to go because I don't want to put too much glue over the edge. Once again, any folds for the spine that I see, I'm trying not to cover. So I wanted to, make sure my, oops, I think I glued that upside down. Let's see if I have some time to get that off. Woo! Oh no, I didn't. This is the inside, Sharon. I'll get it together. Maybe. We'll see. Okay. I thought I glued it upside down, but this is the front. Okay. So I'm trying not to glue on, those folds for the little spines that we've made, or the inside gaps, I should say. Okay, so now I'm just going to make a crease line so I know where to cut approximately. And actually this paper is pretty, might be able to kind of tear it off and have a neat look there, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to grab my craft knife and see if I can do this without cutting the cardboard off. There we go. Okay, now I think probably my glue has dried, so I can re-round the corners of everything. All right. This is what happens. I start pulling out more and more and more, and then I start losing things because I don't put them away right away. So I'm going to do some corner rounds on here too. And this, because now it's thicker, it's probably going to take a little bit of effort. Not too bad though. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Not as bad as those tabs were. Okay, and now you could add some distress if you want. I haven't been distressing because I kind of like the look of these, and I might distress, just maybe not with Vintage Photo. That might be a little too dark for this. Maybe we could distress with something a little lighter, like maybe antique linen. Let's see how that might look. To just give it a little something without going overboard.